What is going on, everybody? So, Shea Gilgis Alexander was on a tear lately. He's been dropping, let's see, 34, 38, 33, 24, 37. So basically, he was going off. He had an off game today, but Shea Alexander going off just kind of like inspired me to make this video because I just feel like it's the perfect time to just ask this really interesting question. And pretty much the question I'm going to be asking you guys is, did the Clippers mess up by trading Shai Alexander and all these picks to OKC for just Paul George? So pretty much me and as you know, a lot of Clippers fans, especially me and Clip Gang and Don't Bang, we love Shai Alexander heavy since during the rookie season. Heck, even before the NBA draft, within weeks, and the 2018 draft is when I started paying attention to prospects and not just NBA players in general. I like within the, I would say 2-3 weeks, I wanted Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be a Los Angeles Clipper because I just like how versatile he is for pretty much like he's like a 6'6" shooting guard, but he can play point guard at the same time. You know, basically pretty smooth with the mid range and the lay, and he's pretty smart in general on the way how he plays the game of basketball. And shout out OKC, they got a great future. And if I were the Thunders, and I'm sure the Thunders think the same, I would not trade Shai Alexander no matter what. I feel he's I feel he's pretty underrated if we're talking guys compared to John Morant, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. I feel Shai Alexander deserves to be around the list just because how smooth he is. And obviously, it's damn near not no empty stats. Shai is the guy. Let's be real. So, I'm gonna just be speaking on both sides of the spectrum on why it was not a mistake to trade for Paul George and why it was a mistake to trade for Paul George. So, first, I'm gonna be talking about why it was not a mistake to trade Shai Alexander for Paul George. So, backstory 2019, summer. Clippers were doing whatever means necessary to get Kawhi Leonard. And it was honestly throughout the whole entire year, 2018 to 2019. And back in 2018, I even said to the people I know that Kawhi Leonard was going to be a Clipper. And then a year later, turns out I was right. And then, however, Kawhi Leonard was going to join the Clippers, but he wants us to pair him up with a Robin, or basically his sidekick. So the Clippers, they were in desperation move, and Kawhi wanted Paul George. So the Clippers did not want to take a risk to losing out on Kawhi Leonard. So the Clippers, they just went frantic mode. And Jerry West, he usually does not do those types of trades. He usually would go for draft picks like how he did with the Lakers. But Jerry West rarely, he was in the panic mode. He went for Paul George, traded Shai, and 7 first-round picks. Well, some of the picks were pick swaps, but anyways. So then we paired up with Kawhi and Paul George. Paul George, despite his ups and downs, he turns out to be a really good player for us, and he definitely helped us in a lot of key moments, and especially he helped us beat the Utah Jazz in the last 2 games, despite the previous year he was a big disappointment. And then he put up a great fight against the Phoenix Suns, which was considered to be one of the best teams in the league. Some still say they're one of the best teams in the league. And then, unfortunately, we did not make it past through. And then the next year, everybody was just injured. Paul George looked amazing when he played, and then briefly came back. Sucks he got the damn protocol. Let's be real. If he did not get the protocol, man, I honestly think the Clippers would have. at least went to the Western Conference Finals, if not win the chip. The Clippers versus Warriors would have been a fun duel to see. But now, here we are with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Paul George, um, he had some rough start, but I just recently learned the so-called illness he got. It was just not no damn common cold. It was like a respiratory illness or something like that. And respiratory, that is no joke. And when you're playing the games of basketball, you need your lungs the most. So all the people who be slandering PG, man, just think twice before you slander this man. And but nevertheless, the last 3 games, he went crazy. He went crazy. Dropped like consecutive 30 points in the games in a row. And then, you know, Paul George, he's a superstar. So he's at least like respectfully top 10 best player in the league. If you really think about it, like when Paul George at his peak, low key top 5 or maybe even top 3 because how all around he is. And people talk about how all around LeBron is, but Paul George is also as all around, if not more all around than LeBron, because Paul George can shoot the ball so smoothly. Paul George has really good handles for a guy his size. Paul George can play make. Paul George can play defense. Paul George can rebound. LeBron can do all that too, but he cannot shoot as good. But LeBron is stronger. That's what probably like set off the balance. But Paul George is one of the best all around players in the league. So that's one good thing about trading for Paul George. And so I'm just gonna end it off by saying why it was not a bad trade, and why it was not a bad trade because like every single year we always have our expectation is winning a championship. Had we not win this trade, the first 2 years we would have been more of a mediocrity, but then we would still be a really good rising team, which I'm gonna dig into why it was a bad trade. And then but again another thing I want to end off is why it was not a bad trade is because the Clippers they just rebounded to a certain extent. So the Clippers like like people say, oh, we don't have a future, we don't have no picks. We have a future. Trust me. The Clippers rebounded by getting Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, Luke Kennard, and Brandon Boston Jr. and Musa Diabate. That's a pretty promising young squad, and that is and Brandon Boston Jr. He has really good potential, and it's a possibility that that could be a really deadly team after 213 retires. So that is why the Clippers didn't mess up trading for Paul George, just because like we have championship aspirations every year, and we rebounded fairly okay. But now I'm going to play the other side and say why trading for Paul George was a bad trade. So let's dig into the trade. So the Clippers trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 22 first, 24, 26, 27, 23, 25. So that's hella picks. And some of these draft class, especially 2023, that's a pretty stacked draft class. And thankfully, we still technically would have a pick because OKC is a worse team than us. But man, this year's a really stacked draft class, and a lot of players are pretty talented. And then basically, the Clippers don't have like a legitimate pick, so if things goes wrong, the Clippers are going to be stuck for years because the Clippers legit don't have our own draft pick till 2027, and the Clippers traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now let's look at his stats. This man is dropping 37, 34, 38, 33, 28, 32. So this man is going off. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, within the next 2 years, he's going to solidify himself as one of the premier players in the league. And he could probably be like a top 20 or top 15 best player in the league. And depends what position, he could be top 5 or top 4, or even as far as top 3 best player in his position. So 7 first round picks, and Shai Alexander. Like, yes, luckily the Clippers rebounded decently well with getting Terrence Mann, B.J. Boston, and Moussa Diabate. But at the same time, like you could have let's just say 213 just simply just fails to get us to the finals and win us the championship. We would be like in a really weird mediocre stage because we could not have a good prospect, but pretty much like it's pretty much like a lot to lose if the Clippers don't win a championship. And look at all these first round picks we traded, and we're gonna have to wait for 2027 when we could get the top pick and pretty much the Clippers like OKC is just gonna enjoy off our future. And let's be real. Let's be real. If this was just straight up a loan and Kawhi just simply did not like come to the Clippers, that's a bad trade alone. But since Kawhi kind of pressured it, it was it's kind of a bad. It was a OKC won the trade, but at the same time the Clippers didn't really lose it, or you could kind of say the Clippers lose it. But it's a fat hole that we kind of digged, but we kind of just digged ourselves out the hole. But some side note I just want to put is this is why I'm really against trading guys like Brandon Boston Jr. and any more first round picks because you don't want to dig yourself another hole, man. You don't want to be like the damn Brooklyn Nets when they traded the whole entire future for Garnett and Terry and Paul Pierce and just be a complete joke in the league because, like, honestly, if a lot of times we should have been like the joke of the league, but thankfully our front office, Jerry West, knows how to get us out from the hole. But let's not dig any more of the hole because if let's say we trade Brandon Boston Jr. for like Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, I mean we're probably gonna get one ring, but it's just gonna be like the Lakers, and Brandon Boston Jr. is gonna pop off for the other team, and it's gonna be painful. And if you think this is painful, imagine BJ Boston in another team. That's that's not that's not good to see. And now I'm gonna give my final verdict on what I think about this trade in general. So pretty much, honestly, like this is one of the most complicated answers ever. So I honestly would say OKC won the trade. They got Shai Alexander. They have a nice squad with, let's see, they got Trey Man. They got Chet Holmgren, which is we'll see if he's a good player or not. And then, assumingly, they're probably going to get a really good prospect from this draft, considering how stacked this draft class is. And they got Giddy, and they got Lewin Dortz, so that could be a potential threat within the future. And they got so many first-round picks that he could easily build them to be a dynasty. And who knows, they could use a lot of their picks to trade up for Victor Wembanyama. But it's hard for me to say the Clippers necessarily lost this trade because, like, Paul George is not trash. Paul George is balling whatsoever, and the Clippers still have aspiration to win the championship. And the Clippers are winning the 2023 championship, whether you want to believe it or not. Like, I that's pretty much facts. But I felt like the Clippers could have found other ways to improvise, like maybe to get Kawhi a Robin. Like ideally, like if there's one big thing I'm criticizing about Kawhi is Kawhi just simply he was kind of like a little bit like somewhat selfish to an extent, but like I think maybe just I would say a little bit more pushy. What Kawhi should have done is Kawhi should have just signed with the Clippers with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and the Clippers could have found other ways to pair Kawhi up, whether it was Paul George, whether it's Chris Paul, whether it's let's see, James Harden, whether it's all these other potential Robins for Kawhi Leonard, and it could have been way less than this. It could have been, instead of Shai Alexander and so many of these picks, it could have been Danilo Gallinari, Landry Shamet, Montrezl Harrell, Jerome Robinson, and it could have been maybe just 3 first round picks instead of, you know, damn near 7 first round picks. But let me know what you think about the Paul George and Shai Alexander trade in general. Like, did OKC win the trade? Did the Clippers messed up, or the Clippers did not mess up? Because like, but anyways, thank you very much for listening to this video. I hope you all have a great night. As y'all know, peace.